What's up, Internet? We are back from Europe and Michigan. Lots of flights, lots of stuff going on. And like I said, I wanted to give you a fish room tour. Part 2, the follow-up from doing nothing for 2 weeks, basically. I think it was 12 or 13 days instead of just 12, but you get it. It's 2 weeks. Basically, all I had Vicky do while I was gone was add a little bit of food, basically just feed everybody, and then if evaporation was weird, to top off the aquarium. So let's go in here and we'll see what's going on. Oh my! Back in the fish room. As you guys remember from before, here's my notes, still on the whiteboard. Don't need them anymore because Vicky knows what's up, right? Oh, that's the light from before. This time it's turned on though, so we can actually see what's happening in here. But, all right, first things first, Vicky's tank doesn't have the lights on yet. So sorry about that, not a lot of changes there. Her tank, we run pretty low tech, so there's not really too much going on. But let's get to the tanks where there really is kind of some stuff happening. Now the 150 gallon shrimp tank right here has not a whole lot going on, but let me flip the camera around and I'll show you what I'm about to tell you about. Alright, so here up in the shrimp tank, you can see there's a little bit, I do have some green algae coming in on some of the Sierra stone in here, which is not typical of this tank. You can see back there, and especially on this rock right here, we do have a little bit of greenery going on, which is not normal. But if we look through at the plants and stuff, everything is pretty much growing the way it normally does, like me struggling with Monte Carlo as always. Gosh. But the Staragine repens, however you want to say it, Staragine, is actually starting to fill in. A lot of new sprouts and stuff since I've been gone. I'll have to trim some of the tops and replant those. I think it's going to end up taking over the space where the Monte Carlo is, but I think that's just an effect of, realistically, how this tank is running. It's just not, it's really just not being, it's just not that great of an environment for the Monte Carlo. Even though it's doing okay, it's just not growing in the way that it normally would grow in a tank that was a little better suited water quality wise for it. The Bucephalandras are doing fine. No real problems there. Not a whole lot of problems with the glass or anything like that, but other than those rocks, everybody else is doing great. Shrimp are still breeding. Water test came out fine. Everything is doing great. I haven't water tested anything else yet, and I'll tell you why, because and I'll show you coming up next. So here's the 60 gallon. As you guys can see, the 60 gallon is a disaster. While I've been gone, we've got a lot of brown algae going buck wild in this tank. And I'll be sorting that out over the next week. We'll be getting that figured out. Luckily, this is one of the easier algae to deal with, and a lot of it just has to do with this tank being kind of out of balance. It doesn't have any CO2 on it or anything like that. And plus, all this new Pogostemon that's in here will be completely trimming all that back to let it be growing back in. And you guys can see the stargrass down here just looks like a brown disaster, but luckily that's pretty easy to clean up and won't be that big of an issue. Otherwise, everything else is going great in the tank. The killifish are going bananas. They keep spraying eggs all over the place, and I've yet to see any offspring from them, but that really doesn't mean that they're not there. They're most likely down in the sump, and I'll go be taking a look in there this week. Oh, the dehumidifier turned on. Let me turn that off. Turn the dehumidifier off for a minute so it stays quiet in here. But other than the brown algae, everything else is going great in here. I'll get that cleaned up, and of course I'll make a video about that so you guys, I'll do a more detailed look on that. Oh my gosh, you guys, the 240 Basically, the only thing that has changed on it is there's a little bit of green algae on the glass that needs to be cleaned off. You can see there's a line right here where the LED light hits. You see that, where it's clean up above? It's just basically green algae will accumulate on a surface that just has direct light and anything's not being used on it. So let's go ahead and I'll get this thing cleaned up and then we'll come back to it right quick. Cleaning the glass, pretty simple, just running through with a mag float, getting that all cleaned up. I think most people know what a mag float is. If you don't, let me know in the comments and I'll link one to you. But get the mag float cleaning done, and then I'm just going to use a little bit of filter floss and get a couple of green spots that were in the way. Overall, not a big huge algae problem or anything with this tank, just a few things out of whack. Had to trim some plants and a couple other things. I really have to kind of rethink some of the plant placement on the 240 specifically, as the Pogostemon is kind of getting out of control in this tank, so I'm gonna have to reel that in a little bit. Alright, so here's the reef, you guys. The reef just has a little bit of goofiness on the glass. Other than that, everything in here is doing fantastically. I don't even need to change anything from the I didn't even need to empty the skimmer cup. Everything's doing pretty darn well in there and almost exactly the same as how I left it off. The lights just came on, so some things aren't quite open yet. But I am happy to say that since I've been gone, this little crazy mushroom is splitting into two. So that's good news. We got mushroom babies, you know what I'm saying? So we got some mushroom babies. All the fish are looking fantastic. Everything is pretty normal in here. I didn't see anything or notice anything out of the norm. But of course, you never really know over the weeks to come. And but other than that, it's pretty good. Boom! Everything cleaned up and done. I'm happy to say that everything's all cleaned up. Not a big deal. But there is a big major thing left to do that I'm not going to video, and that's just me doing water changes. I bet you all have done water changes, and I don't think it's that exciting to watch me do water changes. But I have to say, we have a success on our hands here. We do have a little algae going on and a couple other things, but no deaths, no tank crashes, nothing crazy like that. So overall, mission success, mission accomplished. Oh, that's ridiculous. Let's just say Vicky Toria did a great job while I was gone, and worked out fantastically. But like I said, I just got to do some water changes and get those done, and we're good to go for the next week. Probably no problems, but I'd stay tuned if I were you, because we're going to work on this 60. I'll show you how I get that thing back into shape. We're going to do more work on the 240, of course. We've got a bunch of reef stuff coming up this week because I got to move some things around, and of course, the giant shrimp tank will have to be getting some attention. So I'll have to talk to you later. Where's the Java ferns on the button again? Later.